Yourself Caregiving. I'm Chrissy Barron, and I'm so glad you joined me today. We're going to talk today about taking care of ourselves. Actually, we're going to talk about how to take care of ourselves in the moment because we can eat all the green things we want, we can exercise, we can do all the things that make our foundation healthy and happy. But what it really comes down to is that no matter what we do outside of our house, we still have to walk into our house and support and experience and live the same storm we left as caregivers. So, I want to talk today about how we can support ourselves in the moment and how we can take some of those moments in the day and turn them into something that's palatable for both you and the person you love. So, welcome. I'm glad you're here and I'm excited to get started.
Supporting ourselves in the moment, that's a different concept, like more preventative instead of reactive. Think about how much time we spend trying to recover from some of those moments that happen during the course of the day. So even if we only change half of them, we're still winning. And even if we only change one of them, we're still winning. So I hope to explain a few things to you today and maybe give you a different perspective and a different understanding. All right, let's get started. First of all, we need to take a look at our humanness because humans are complicated. And when one of us is sick and one of us is tired and one of us is cranky or what have you, it really is important to understand how we function as humans because it really gives us some understanding as to why we do what we do and how we think. So, first of all, I want to point out this thing called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. The Bader-Meinhof phenomenon says that we basically will find what we're looking for to affirm what we're thinking, to make sense of the world around us. An example is if you bought a car recently, you see those cars everywhere. That's kind of a good example of Bader-Meinhof. So it's important that we understand that because depending on how we approach the day and how we feel inside and what the stories that we make up in our head, or, because we all make up stories in our head, we will look for affirmation of that. And that's really important because when we're supporting another human, if I make up a story about what your intention is of why you are doing what you're doing, then I'm not, if the story is favorable to you, then I'll find the good in what's happening. And if the story is not favorable to you, I extend you zero grace. And I pass judgment, and maybe I pass judgment on myself. And the problem with judgment is it demands punishment. So it's really important that we understand our humanness. So let's get started by looking at COVID because it's really about how we move through the process of COVID. And I think that's important because if you think about when things happen to us that are different, that are frustrating, that are scary for more than lack of a better way of saying that, and a lot of the stuff that comes with disease processes is scary. So I want to make sure that we understand that we as humans all move through the process in a similar way, but we definitely have a process of adjusting. So this is a really good example of COVID. What do I want to be during COVID? I don't know what I want to be, but I can tell you that when it first happened, there was this uncomfortable, what's going on here, right? And then all of a sudden it kicked in like, wow, what's really going on here? And all of a sudden you can't find toilet paper, you can't find Diet Squirt. I still can't find Diet Squirt, and it makes me sad. But at some point after that first 14 days, we thought, well, wow, this is going to be a little longer than the 14 days. And then we started learning how to deal with it, how to live within our new normal and our new confines of normal. So then once we got kind of used to that and found a place in that, we moved into that growth zone. So it's important because if you think about our journey as caregivers, I think we potentially go through this a couple times a week. And Our amygdalas right up here, we're going to get to know our amygdalas really good right now because it's really important in the sense that that's our emotional control center. Like that's where all of our emotions come from. So our amygdala is really in charge of producing chemicals. And one of the chemicals that are really important for us as caregivers to understand is the cortisol chemical. We chemically affect each other. So if I came up and scared you, you're going to get that dose of cortisol. Just like if a bear came and was chasing you, it's the same dose of cortisol. For us as caregivers, because so many things happen during the course of a day and we're never exhaling, we're just inhaling. We get up, something happens, something happens, something happens, and we never exhale. And that's that not exhaling, that not breathing is what actually makes the cortisol build up in your system. So if you feel like you're reacting to things instead of responding, it's because your cortisol level is high. So a really good example of this is, when's the last time you overslept for something? Think about that. Think about how you rolled over and looked at the clock and went, oh, crap, boom, and you just flew out of the house and flew to wherever you were going. Now, if I asked you, did anything go good after that? How was the rest of your day? Most of you will tell me that it didn't go very well, that the whole day was out of whack. Nothing was good was happening. So that's your cortisol level. So when I first became a caregiver and when we were first going through things, Tipa Snow, who is amazing, I told her kind of what was going on, and she said, she's like, well, you have to breathe. I'm like, breathe? I am breathing. I'm breathing all the time. Then the quick fix of me wanted to say, but I need something to help me now. And the crazy thing is that something so simple as breathing did not make my radar as a tool. And it's not fluffy, it's necessary. So if our amygdala is out of control, so let's say I made you angry, okay? We have different levels of irritation. So let's just take irritated. So my first level is really just basically irritated. The second level is getting a little angry. And then the third level is furious. So our amygdalas definitely have a lot of control over how we feel. Think about this for a second. If you start out your day at lonely, angry and worried, just saying, and we have an interaction as you as my care partner, as an interaction that doesn't go well, if I'm already in the yellow zone, where am I going from there? Which is exactly why we need to talk about supporting ourselves in the moment. That's exactly why we're here, because it's important. So this works both ways. So if I'm really excited, like we're going to get a puppy, right? I'm really excited and I'm really hyped up. If I'm really if something gets in the way of that because I am so excited, if something in the moment gets in front of me and gets in my way of doing that, there's a really good chance that I'm really gonna escalate in a completely different way, because why do you need to get in front of my puppy? I'm so excited about my puppy. Just leave me alone. So this is where the breathing comes in, because it's really important that we understand that for us as caregivers, our cortisol level is 60% higher than the rest of the population. Think of that. I mean, that's nutty. I decided that I was really going to do this breathing thing. Really set my clock for every 2 hours to remind me to do this. So I'm going to walk through one with you, and then you can do it on your own. But you want to do 3 in a row. Okay. So I have found that if I do 4 is not so bad, but 5 will actually make me start getting dizzy. So counterproductive, don't do that. Just follow this. This is called tactical breathing. It's what the Marines doing. Let's be honest. Once I found out the Marines did it, totally bought in. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold in, you're going to breathe in for 4. So in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Now, you might think this is really simple, but so effective. If you do that 3 times in a row, I swear to you, you will feel your whole body change. You'll feel maybe a little tingly. You'll feel your temperature change. And I'm trying to get this to be my knee-jerk reaction because the first 5 seconds you want to say something is the first 5 seconds you should not say something. So if I take that first 5 seconds and I make myself pause instead of react, who does that make a difference? I've gotten tuned into my triggers, so I know when there's a potential for me to react. So I need to breathe in. And here's the thing. Do you know that only of the story we tell ourselves about this particular thing that we're dealing with, out of 100% of the information in that story, only 2% is true? For real. People studied this. The rest of it comes from my ego. And it's really important because our ego is what fills in the blanks. It's what makes our story not always good. And it's important that we're minding our stories. That's being proactive. That's what supporting yourself in the moment is. For you. So one of the things that I've come up with is when we talk about the stories that we're telling ourselves, we have to be really understanding that when someone's sick and there's a disease in your house, I'll call it the third entity, you have to welcome that in and you have to learn how to live with it. And there's a lot of frustrating first times. And I believe that as we're talking about this and understanding ourselves in the moment, those first times, especially when somebody's sick, are really some significant first times. So the story you make up about that specific situation can actually really escalate into guilt, shame, regret, all kinds of stuff if you don't pause and wait and say, wait, whew, this has never happened before, and extend yourself the grace. You've never been here before. And that's the hardest part of this whole thing, is understanding that you haven't been here before. You're not supposed to know what this looks like, and you're both just trying to figure it out. So Brene Brown put some structure around it in what she calls the frustrating first time. Because if I'm minding my story in the moment, if I pause, the pause for the cause, I'm just going to say pause for the cause. My knee-jerk reaction wants to go, bah! It's just not good for anyone, including me. And it extends zero grace to anyone outside of me, nor to me, which is really sad, because when things are happening for the first time, grace is the first thing we need to extend to ourselves, because we're just trying to figure it out. So recognize that I'm having a frustrating first time. That's the thing. And some of these first times are really hard, just so you know. Like, if you're feeling like they're really hard, they are. They are, and they're sad, and they sometimes make us angry, and they sometimes make us grieve the loss of what was. And we'll talk about that in a few videos. But for today, it's really understanding how we're minding ourselves in the moment. So really take a look at it. Okay, so what we know about this, what part of this, this is this the new normal? Is this isolated? What for our present situation, how abnormal is this? Right? It's not normal because, well, it's never happened before. And so that whole process that I just went through, that's really trying to gain some perspective. So our brain is kind of trained to go to the worst case scenario. So reality check my expectations, right? Am I expecting myself to do something that I can't? Am I expecting the person that I'm supporting to do something that they can't? And this next thing, I have this hanging up in here that says, expectations are resentments waiting to happen. So I said earlier something about judgment demands punishment. So if I'm judging you, I'm punishing you. If I'm judging me, I'm punishing me. If I have expectations for myself, that not even Wonder Woman could achieve, then I'm definitely have some resentments to myself, but potentially some resentments going towards the person that I'm supporting. Because when we're hurting, we just want to blame someone, and that I don't think I know is exactly where we get into the problem. So frustrating first times. Ooh, this is not normal, but every day is a new normal. Spend a lot of time and energy trying to get back to normal instead of embracing the new normal. And I know you didn't want to hear that, and I'm sorry, but it's the way it is. So it's always going to be harder than we thought and take longer than we expect. So how do we support ourselves in the moment? Right? We've now talked about our amygdala and how that fires off and drives a lot of what we do. We've talked about how we will find what we're looking for. So if we're already irritated with something, we're going to see all the things that are bad versus all the possibilities of what could happen. So how do we take those stories and how do we turn them around in the moment? If right over here, we'll call it your pinky brain. So tap on your head so you know where it is. Our pinky brain's primary job is to keep us safe. Okay. Its primary job is to keep us safe. It's also where our knee-jerk reaction comes from. So if you've ever went to the store or went somewhere and got there and said, wow, did I stop at that stop sign? Huh. Chances are pretty good that yes, you did stop at the stop sign because your pinky brain was paying attention. So the problem with that is our pinky brain wants to go 1,000 places we potentially normally would not go. So what Mel talks about is in order to go from this automatic pilot, this pinky brain, back up here to our thinking brain, we have to trigger it to do that. Okay, because this is automatic pilot, and this is actually our thinking brain, our executive control center. It's the place that makes decisions, that's rational, that says, no, I better not do that. First is dangerous. You don't want to do that. So it's a powerful thing. It's something that we need, but we don't need it in the moment all the time because that particular thing is what's causing most of our distress. And so I feel the trigger, right? Like, oh my God, what did you just say to me? So my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's the 5-second rule. Counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 will bring us back to our thinking brain, and not our reacting brain. If he can't have his moment without me getting pissy and angry and all these things, where are we going from there? Like, am I supposed to spend the rest of my life pissed off? Actually step back from it. And I say to myself, would Jeff be talking to me like that if he wasn't in all that pain? The answer to that is no. In order to change that story to support myself in the moment, my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is, wow, he's in so much pain today because my husband doesn't talk to me like that ever. He's a second husband. I like this one. That's not him talking to me. That's the pain talking to me. And he's talking to me that way because the pain is talking to him that way. It's not being very nice to him and he doesn't know what else to do. So part of how do I support him and me in that moment is taking the moment to extend the grace to him and to me. I can't spend the whole day hijacked. I can't. I got stuff to do. And well, it's terrible on my heart. So, and it doesn't have to be, but I put us there based on my reaction in the moment. So I hope that makes sense. This week, be in touch with your amygdala. What is it doing? What is the story that you're telling yourself? Some opportunities to try to change the story, to give yourself grace and just see how it works out. So let's connect on Friday. I will tell you a couple more of my stories and how I support myself in the moment. I hope it helps you. So I can't promise that this is going to change your mind about laundry or dishes or all that kind of stuff, although you can tell yourself different stories about that. This applies everywhere. This isn't just caregiving. This is the human experience, right? So next week, we're going to talk about taking inventory and what that means, what that looks like. I have a tool for you to use. And well, tell your friends, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.